Hi, I'm Mike Dilk, and you're listening to the Relax Back UK show, the show that explores all kinds of health topics relevant to you, your family, and your friends. Each week, I talk to expert guests from a range of backgrounds to inform and entertain you. So please do join the Relax Back UK family and stay tuned.
Hi, and thank you for joining me on the Relax Back UK show. This week's subject is very topical, but what has been spoken about here?
There has been an increase in the black market. There has been an increase with fake products and those type of things, which is a very scary place to be. We have been made aware of beauticians selling these type of medications, which they're not licensed to do. So if anyone is selling these and they're not a proper pharmacist or a GP, please stay away from those. Those are not licensed medications. Those are the scary ones that we don't even know what's inside them.
It is weight loss medication, specifically weight loss injections. My guest is pharmacist Hiram Malik, and we discuss how these injections work, who they're appropriate for, the side effects, and much else. So please do join us for a great show. Thank you.
This show is cool!
There are a few sorts of weight loss injections available. So my first question to Hira was, how many are there? What are they called? Are they basically the same? Or do they work in the same way?
Okay, so within the UK, currently there is 3 different types of weight loss injections which are fully licensed. So number one is Saxenda, which we've had for a few years. It was one of the injections that was first licensed for weight loss control. So that was licensed about 10 years ago. We've been using it. It's a daily injection. Since then, obviously, science has improved. We went towards Ozempic, which was licensed originally for diabetic control. So what they did was, about a couple of years ago, they actually looked into the weight loss side of things, and then they licensed a different version of Ozempic, which has the same drug, but it's called Wegovy. So Wegovy within the UK is only licensed for weight loss, and Ozempic is only licensed for diabetic control. So it's to kind of, make sure that patients can get access to either one, whichever they're needing. So, there's a whole stigma attached to that weight loss people are currently taking away diabetic medication. That's not the case. We have completely different stock levels for both of these. So diabetics can
But
have
it's
good
essentially the
access.
same thing, but with a
It's
different
exactly
name.
the same drug. Yes, exactly the same
Exactly the
drug.
same thing with a different name. Okay.
It's pretty much how you get ibuprofen. So you get ibuprofen for your headache, but you get ibuprofen for your backache, but it's essentially the same drug. So that's semaglutide. So that's number one. And then last year in February, we had a new drug that got licensed within the UK, which is called Manjaro. So Manjaro is a slightly different drug, essentially the same kind of medication inside. It works in a very similar manner, and that's a tirzepatide drug. That's what's it called. So Manjaro is licensed for both for weight loss and for diabetic control. Since it got licensed, it was used mainly for weight loss. However, now NHS has kind of decided that they will also apply this for diabetics. So some diabetic patients in the UK are actually getting access to this as well. A little bit different in terms of what is available on the NHS versus what is available in the private setting. So with these medications for weight loss, there needs to be a certain criteria that you have to fit to be able to access these. So you need to have a BMI of at least 30 or above 27 if you have another high risk condition.
Yeah. All right, let me just interrupt you. We will come on to how people can get them and availability and NHS, all that sort of thing.
Okay.
But first of all, let's keep it really simple or basic questions anyway. The answer might not be simple. Generally speaking, how do they work? So in the terms of a layman, because as far as this goes, I am very much a layman. So keep it simple just for me.
Okay, so these drugs are what's called GLP-1 receptor agonists. And what they pretty much do is they mimic a natural hormone that our body produces anyway. So it helps to regulate your blood sugar. It helps to suppress your appetite. So this is what they're working on. They're working on your gut. They're working on your brain as well to kind of say, okay, you've eaten enough and you don't actually need to eat anymore. So that's
the eating enough hormone is released when we've had a good meal.
Yeah, so pretty much that goes to our brain, says we've had enough, that's when you can stop. Now, the other way that these medication work is by reducing your hunger. So you'll basically get rid of your food noise. So if you wake up in the morning and you're like, first thing, I want to have breakfast, but while you're having breakfast, you're thinking about your lunch. And while you're having lunch, you're thinking about what's left in the fridge. All of that's called food noise. These medications take all of that food noise away from your brain. So you're not thinking about food constantly. You can actually get on with your life. So that's one thing.
All right. That's different from the I've had enough to eat hormone, is it?
Yeah, so it's slightly
That
different.
sounds like hypnosis or something.
It pretty much is. It pretty much is. And I think unless you have a food noise and then not have a food noise, you will not realize how bad your food noise is. So a lot of these patients, when we're talking to them now, they now say to us, actually, it's the first time when I realized when my friend used to say, I've forgotten to eat lunch today, I could never relate to that. But now I can because my food noise is gone. And sometimes I do forget to eat. So this is what happens with these medications. They actually just take away that constant feeling of, I need to be eating. What am I eating next? I'm craving this. I'm craving that. I've got leftovers in the fridge and, I have to go back home and eat those. Or I've got a packet of biscuit in the fridge. So I'm constantly thinking about it that I need to be, go back to home and eat that. So
All right,
all of
so
that goes away.
essentially, there are two things in all these injections. There's the hormone that
Yeah.
says, okay, you've had enough to eat, and a chemical that affects the brain that stops us thinking about food. Is that
Yeah, pretty much.
something?
So that's what
Okay.
happens. As well as this, these medications then also work on your digestive system. So the movement of the food throughout your digestive system, it slows down. So you stay fuller for longer. So even if you've had a smaller meal, you will actually stay fuller for much longer. And your body will, again, not want to eat more because the food is still within your system. So that's the third way that it works. And the last way it works is actually regulates your insulin levels and your glucagon levels. So the spikes that we get throughout the day of cravings, of thinking, I need something salty, I need something sweet, again, because the insulin level is now regulated, basically it ends up kind of being all those cravings go away as well. So overall, a lot of different functions,
Yeah,
but
so there are four active ingredients in these things.
pretty much it's the same active ingredient, but it's working on all types of different places, which then leads to a reduced calorie intake for a person and then a sustained weight loss, pretty much.
All right, so there's one active ingredient that does these four things, not four
Well,
different active
no,
ingredients.
no, no. So in semaglutide, you only have a GLP-1. In tirzepatide, which is Manjaro, you actually have two different types of hormones. There's GLP-1 and GIP. So this is what we are finding, that Manjaro tends to be a little bit stronger. It's showing a little bit better results overall, where a person can lose up to 22% of their weight, whereas with Wegovy and Ozempic, it's about 20%. So it's slightly increased, but I think it's because it's got two different hormones that's working on.
Okay. All right. So for these different sorts of injections, do
Mhm.
people have to inject themselves every day, once a month? How does it work?
So with Saxenda, which is not as popular anymore, that was a daily injection. Whereas Wegovy and Manjaro, they are weekly injections. So you just have to inject once a day. It's a tiny, tiny needle. It goes just under your skin. Very easy to use, very simple to use. We obviously kind of work with our patients to make sure that they're comfortable using the needles, especially if you've never used a needle before. So you can inject it in your stomach, you can inject it on your thigh, you can inject it on the back of your arm. So a couple of different places where you can inject. Technique is very straightforward. It's nothing too complicated. You're not mixing anything. Everything comes in a pen that's already pre-filled. You just have to twist it to load the dose up, and then you just inject, and it goes back to zero again.
All right. And how much stuff do you inject into yourself?
So slightly different for Wegovy and Manjaro. It's all pre-loaded, so it's just one dose once a week, and
Yes,
it's
but
about
is it a thimbleful or is it a cupful?
it's about 2 ml.
2 ml.
Yeah,
Okay.
tiny, tiny amount.
Explain 2 ml in something I might a teaspoon.
Um, Possibly a big teaspoon, yes.
Okay. So
Yeah. So nothing too crazy.
so not loads, but no, I can get a good idea in my mind
Yeah.
of what a teaspoon is, and so that's what I'm
And
injecting
that
in. All
keeps you
right.
going for a full week.
Yeah. All right. Now, because I knew we were going to chat, I did a little bit of Googling, which I understand is a very dangerous thing. And I came across in fact, almost the first thing I came across was, oh, yes, short-term side effects, vomiting
Yeah.
and diarrhea. Tell
Yes.
us a bit
So
about some side effects. Are there any?
So of course, as with any medication, there can be side effects. With this one, because it's working mainly on your gut and your gastric system, so the main side effects sometimes people can get is nausea, a little bit of vomiting, sometimes constipation and diarrhea. So those four are the main common ones. However, as you start using the medication, your body gets adapted to it. They tend to settle very, very quickly. Not many people actually get the vomiting side of things. You may get a little bit of nausea, but the nausea almost feels like, not that I want to be sick, but it's like if you have had your favorite meal You've then gone for seconds, and I've come along and I've given you a third plate, and I'll be like, go on, have a third one. The feeling that you may feel where your brain is like, actually, I love this food, but I don't really feel like having, that's the kind of nausea you will probably get. But again, it settles within the first few days. And as you start taking the medication more regularly, that goes away. Constipation is common because obviously you're eating less and things are moving a little bit slower. So again, very manageable. You can use things like fiber gel, but make sure if you're drinking plenty of water, again, everything kind of shifts. It's very, very easily to manage. Again, diarrhea, because you're eating, things are staying in your system for a little bit longer. If your body doesn't like things which are like fried or too greasy, too oily, then you tend to sometimes end up with diarrhea. But again, these medications are not magic, so you have to change your lifestyle with it. You have to be making the correct food choices alongside it. If you're making the correct food choices, the side effects are very, very, very tiny and very easily manageable. That's pretty much the more of the side effect side of things. In terms of how many people get side effects, probably about 4% will get some side
4%.
effects. 4% of people
Oh,
will
so
get side
pretty
effects.
small.
Very, very small. Very, very small. Most people will
Okay.
go through the whole journey without getting any side effects whatsoever.
All right. What about long term? Because it seems to me these things haven't been around very long. So we're kind of conducting a massive experiment on everyone to see what the long term effects will be, and no one really knows.
So again, I think there's a little bit of misinformation about these drugs have not been very long. So Manjaro has only got licensed this year. But Wegovy, Ozempic has been used for diabetic control for years and years and years. Manjaro has been getting used in America for years. So we do have the safety side of things.
What's years?
So Manjaro was licensed within the US about 3 years ago, whereas Ozempic has been used for almost 10 years now. So we do have a safety guideline to say actually what is the long-term effect in terms of if you've been using it continuously for 10 years, because a lot of diabetics will probably be on these medications for lifelong, because they do give a really, really good control in diabetes as well. So when it comes to weight loss, yes, there's a possibility that these medications can help you treat and reduce the weight loss, but there will be a small number of people who might want to stay on this medication for a lifelong because it's actually helping them control something within their inner bodies, which puts them at a higher risk of gaining weight as well. So obesity itself is a huge topic. It's a very complex condition that we should be recognizing as a chronic condition. But I can go into that a little bit more if you want.
Yeah. No, later on. Now,
Yes.
really, well, you sort of touched on it, but
Mhm.
if people start a course of one of these things, how long are they likely to be on it? Because I had the impression, okay, you're going to be on it forever, but you might be if you're a diabetic or what have you. But if you're looking to lose some weight, what's a regular course?
So a lot of people, I think if they have about 3, 4 stones to go, then I would say maybe looking into at least a year for that to happen, which is a good way to lose weight. We are hoping you lose about 1 to 2 pounds, which is very sustainable, very good on your body as well. So your body allows yourself to catch up on that as well. So potentially a year. When you're thinking about coming off these medications, it's very important to know that it's not just a quick fix. It's not something that you will say, okay, you've reached a goal, goodbye, no more medication. It's about then educating the patients to know that they've made significant lifestyle changes alongside this to be able to continue to keep that weight off. So until that happens, we then say, okay, let's reduce the medication down a little bit so we can test out your lifestyle to see how you're feeling and how you're getting on it. And if you need that support where you need to maybe just have a smaller dose of this medication for a longer period of time until you can get your lifestyle going, then that's an option as well. So it's completely patient led. It's very much dependent on individual to see, okay, I have made significant changes to my lifestyle. I can come off the medication now. Very similarly to how we will deal with a type 2 diabetic who may go into remission and then choose to deal with that with lifestyle alone rather than staying on medication, or people who've got cholesterol, they can manage it with lifestyle again without having to use the medication. So same applies to obesity, where there will be a group of people who can manage it just with lifestyle. However, there will be people who may still need the medication after as well.
Okay. All right. Based on my Googling, which, as I said, is a dangerous thing, there seem to be some examples of maybe the wrong sort of people getting hold of these drugs. So
Yes.
maybe people who have an eating disorder trying them out. They might actually be quite ill to start off with, and then trying out these things for various different reasons. Have you come across that, and how can we stop that?
So, obviously, being an online pharmacy, there's a very vigorous process that we go through. So, there's a big questionnaire that you have to complete. We ask for access to your GPs. We write to your GPs to make sure that there is nothing that this person hasn't actually mentioned to us. So, we tell them what we know, and then GPs will have the ability to tell us, actually, this person, back in the days, they maybe had an eating disorder then, but it's been cleared for the last 20, 30 years, and then that means they are maybe okay to do so to continue on this medication, but with correct monitoring. So there is a big ID check. So we have to check IDs. We do video consultations to make sure the person who's in the ID is actually the person sitting in front of us, telling us about their health, making sure that they match the definition of the BMI they've told us. So if someone's telling me that their BMI is 35, but they look like a size 8, then obviously that's not a match that we will go ahead and prescribe that medication for. So it is a very, very strict process. Recently in the media, you might have seen that GPHC, who's a regulatory body for pharmacies, they've actually made it compulsory for patients to be having a two-way conversation. So it's pretty much like going to a GP to have a proper conversation to see if these medications are suitable for you. So you can't just go and click something and just get this medication. You have to go through a process, and there is a very strict criteria that you have to meet before you're able to get these.
Right.
Now, that's for legal pharmacies, of course. To make sure that if you're accessing this through a legal form of pharmacies, then yes, you have to be, that's what we do. However, there has been an increase in the black market. There has been an increase with fake products and those type of things, which is a very scary place to be. We have been made aware of beauticians selling these type of medications, which they're not licensed to do. So if anyone is selling these and they're not a proper pharmacist or a GP, please stay away from those. Those are not licensed medications. Those are the scary ones that we don't even know what's inside them.
How can you know if you're talking to a proper pharmacist?
So if you're on the line, you can actually check their registration. So each pharmacist in the UK has their registration. Each pharmacy, which is fully licensed, has a registration on their websites. You can put those into the GPHC register and you can check their registration status. So for instance, us, if you go to GPHC and you search Ushk Pharmacy, you will get all the information about our registration. You will get all the information about me as an individual pharmacist as well. So you can always check who you're speaking to. Again, for GPs, you should be able to go onto GMC registers to check their registrations. Any nurses, they have their own NMC registers. So all healthcare professionals within the UK have to be registered, and it's all available online for anyone to see.
Okay, so the kind of check, and check again if you
You
think there's
have
anything
to.
slightly peculiar.
And if anything seems too good to be true, it probably is. So that should be a red flag. If you feel that it's easy to get these medications, then that's a red flag.
Okay, all right.
Mhm.
Here's a question for you, which is kind of slightly less about the drugs themselves, but sort of I don't know, it's more of a comment on society or whatever.
Okay.
Um, I can think all this, I mean, it has helped a lot of people, I know. And in fact, I know some people personally
Mhm.
that have been helped. But I can't help thinking it's just kind of addressing the symptom. I mean, the fact is, a lot of us, including me, eat too much, drink too much, and don't do enough exercise, and we're fat.
Yeah.
Now that's the problem. Um, that's the core problem. These things
It
kind of
is.
address the symptom to some extent, don't
No,
they?
of course. And I think within UK, we can all have a lesson in portion control. Our portions are absolutely huge, especially when you compare it even to the rest of the Europe. We as a society are eating bad. We are going towards processed food. We're going for the easy available, cheaper foods, which are super, super processed, not good for us in any way whatsoever. For us to even consider a sandwich, a packet of crisp and chocolate as a normal meal every single day for lunch, like it's not healthy in any way whatsoever. So as a society, we need to make huge, huge, huge changes. And I think this is where obviously the government comes into play, the education in school comes into play. It's about, okay, how do we as a society change that? Even the fact that we don't even have enough bike lanes or anything like that to even, we get annoyed while driving at a a person because we're like, you're just kind of clogging up our roads. So it's about how do we change our mindset as a whole society to say we need to move towards healthy eating. Um, and make sure that our future generations actually are aware of what eating is and how to move more and how to exercise more. Everyone's working from home. Me and you are working from home, so we're not even parking a car in the car park and walking that 5 minutes to get to work. All of that's changing. Our
I'm
kids are
about to
not.
take the dog for a walk, I'll have you know here.
But our kids, they're not playing on the streets anymore. We're not doing any exploring under the gutters and things that I used to do when back in the day. So things are changing. We are being kind of hidden in our houses. We order food to the house, we order clothes to the house. Like, we're not doing the same kind of movement that we did before. So as a whole society, 100%, I think we need to change our mindset. We need to educate people about what healthy eating is and how do we move a little bit more. However, these medications, yes, they can help with these type of lifestyle people who've potentially put on a lot of weight because of their lifestyle. There is also a group of people who actually are just more at risk of putting weight on. So if they've got other conditions such as, thyroid problems, or if they've got PCOS, or if they've got lipedema, or women.
PCUS, I don't know what that is.
PCOS is a condition that affects a lot of women in the UK. So about 1 in 3 women in the UK have PCOS, which is polycystic ovary syndrome. It's when you're
I have heard of that. Okay. It
yeah.
was the
So
shortened version.
it's the shortened version. Sorry, I think I just speak to in medical terms. So a lot of times what happens is your body gets insulin resistance with it. So that means you're not regulating your cycles properly and your hormones levels are not regulated. So you are very likely to put a lot of weight on. The same thing applies to when women go through menopause. There's a lot of hormonal changes, and a lot of women going through menopause actually are very prone to gaining weight, but then struggling really, really hard to actually lose anything. Whereas in their 20s and their 18s, they could actually lose weight very, very quickly. So genetics play a huge role, hormones play a huge role, lifestyle also plays a huge role, and plus any other conditions that you may be more prone to. So there is a lot going on in why a person is likely to put on weight, as well as how a brain is designed, how a gut is designed. So me and you could have the same exact meal. My brain might tell me that I actually only need to store 10% of what I've eaten, whereas your brain might tell you that you need to actually store about 80% of that. So it's completely different, and people don't recognize this. And I think we need to also talk about that. Yes, obesity is a lifestyle condition sometimes, but there is a group of people who actually are trying their best. They're trying really hard to lose the weight, and they have been successful multiple times throughout their lives to lose the weight, but they always end up putting it back on. So there must
Sure.
be something more than that. They know exactly what to do. They've done it before, but what is it that keeps stopping them from regaining that weight?
Yeah. I think, well, what is clear is it's actually the whole subject, the whole topic is actually quite complicated. There aren't any
It
quick
is.
fixes or nice, simple solutions. However, it sounds like what you're dealing with is a good
Mhm.
tool to help.
It is, and
So,
it should be used as a tool. It shouldn't be
yeah,
used as the answer for everything. Like I said, you still have to work hard on it, because if you're eating less and your body's not wanting that food, but you're still making the wrong choices. So even if you're able to eat half the calories that you normally would, but if I'm eating KFC and cakes every single day, I'm not going to lose the weight. So you still have to make the correct choices, and you still have to introduce some activity into your life to make sure that this medication that you're using as a tool can still work and give you the results that
yeah.
you're needing to do.
What one of the knock-ons of a lot of people being overweight, and it's not the only cause, but it is one of the causes, is a lot of us have diabetes,
Hmm.
which has a major knock-on for the NHS. And again, just before our chat, I did
Hmm.
a little Google on what diabetes costs the NHS. I'm going to test you. Have you got any idea?
In millions, I think it is millions, 13 million, I think, around that time, around that, is it?
10 billion a year.
10 billion, yeah. Hmm.
10% of its budget. Right. So
Yeah, so
this is just terrifying. So what I was thinking, can these kind of jabs that you're discussing, chatting about, help a lot of people with diabetes, help the NHS save a lot of money? I mean, is that at
100%.
all
And I think this
possible?
is, yeah, of course. And this is what we are trying to go towards, to explain to patients and to educate them that actually obesity is a huge risk factor when it comes to diabetes type 2. It's a huge factor when it comes to cardiovascular related conditions, also hypertension. So just alone that 10 billion that's spent on diabetes control, there is about 7 billion that we spend on cardiovascular conditions, and there's another 2 billion that we spend on hypertension. So overall, it's about 20 billion that we will be spending on these conditions, which we can now control with controlling obesity at a lower rate. So again, NHS is not trying to fund this yet. Yes, they have accepted it, but they're not agreed to kind of start funding it for another 12 years.
This was going to be my next question.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the relationship with the NHS and these kind of drugs?
So at the moment, NHS has said that yes, we will start funding this for weight loss. However, they've asked for about 12 years. a lot of these people, unfortunately, in 12 years' time may not be here, or they might be in a very serious position where they've got the diabetes now and they've had heart attacks and they've had strokes, or their cholesterol's through the roof, and now they're on multiple blood pressure medications. So a lot of our patients, I would say, all of our patients are self-funding this. It's not a cheap medication, but they recognize the importance of actually controlling your weight right now so you can reduce the risk of multiple conditions that the NHS will then have to deal with in the future. Patients are losing 40 kgs, 80, 100 pounds on these medications. That's a huge, huge, huge amount of weight that you can lose. Even losing five kgs normally can give you a lifespan of about 10 years for a healthier life. So if you're losing this significant amount of weight,
I hope you've got some statistics to back that up, Hira.
I do. It's you can use your trusted friend Google on this.
Well, you can find an awful lot of rubbish on Google as well. But,
you can
but certainly, if you lose weight, you are almost bound to be healthier.
100%. You're reducing your cholesterol levels, you're reducing your diabetic levels, you're reducing your blood pressure. So there's so much more things that we can fix with just reducing weight.
Goodness
I'm so
me.
sorry. Someone's actually on door. Thank you.
Was that your weekly dose of medication?
It was actually. No, I'm only kidding. It's my husband's outfits of the day. So my husband's actually on this medication himself, and he's lost 80 pounds. So as much money as we are saving on food, he is now spending on his new wardrobe.
Okay. Maybe that is a potential downside, isn't it? If you're losing a lot of weight, you may well have to purchase some more clothes.
And he's also, he's more fashionable now. He's investigating, he's trying different outfits on. And so I do get regular deliveries of new outfits all the time.
That's funny. Okay. All right. So look, this is very interesting what we've been talking about. And certainly there's a lot of discussion in the media. And I suspect an awful lot of information sloshing around on the internet, which is really inappropriate, half-truths, or sometimes just complete nonsense. So if people have been listening to this and they are interested and want to find out a bit more, can you please suggest a resource for some good, sensible information?
In terms of finding out more information, I would say maybe go to online pharmacies. These people are fully aware of what weight loss injections are. We've been dealing with these. We actually have a Facebook support group that people who are not even patients are more than welcome to join. Can I share that information? I'm not too sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So on Facebook, there's a group called USHK Support Group. So that's OUSHK Support Group. So you can actually join in. You can read the stories. We've got about 7,000 patients on there, mainly on Mounjaro, going through these weight loss journeys, sharing their information, talking about the side effects. How do we manage those? Talking about their journeys, what changes they've made. We do lives on there with the PT. We've got nutritionists on there. We've got menopause specialists on there. Me as a pharmacist, I'm on there as well. So there's a lot of questions, a lot of information available. So this could be a good place to start if you're wanting to get some education or information about these products. You can go to our website. We've got some blogs on there. You can read those as well. Or if you just want some more information, you can just give us a call. That's easy enough to do. So just pick up the phone, give us a call if you want to speak to one of the prescribers or a pharmacist to go through whether it's suitable for yourself, or if you want to just find out what it entails, then of course you're more than welcome to just give us a call.
Okay. And your number's on the website?
Our number's on the website. It's 0161 503 3731.
Okay. Say that one more time.
0161 503 3731.
Very good. All right, Hira, look, thank you very much indeed for chatting. Much appreciated.
No problem. Thank you for having me. It's been lovely.
Thank you very much to my guest on this week's show, and that was pharmacist Hira Malik talking about weight loss injections. Please do remember to buy my book. It's called Cut the Crap, Ask the Questions That Matter About Your Health, and it's largely based on interviews with experts on the Relax Back UK show. It's available on Amazon. And lastly, have a healthy week. Until next week.
Thanks for listening to the Relax Back UK show. Join me, Mike Dilk, again next week for more fascinating interviews and chat. If you're listening to the podcast version, please subscribe, like, and share it with your family and friends. And have a healthy week. Until next week.